Mountain View, followed by the Leader of the New Democrat Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, over a year ago, the Premier promised in her leadership campaign to bring paid farm workers under the protection of occupational health and safety. As a human rights lawyer, the Premier is well aware that occupational health and safety laws are internationally recognized as a basic worker right. And yet this is just another promise made, another promise broken. I expect this resistance to sensible regulation from the Tea Party on my right, but not you, Madam Premier. Why have you broken this promise to a particularly vulnerable group?
Honourable Minister of Human Services.
Mr. Speaker, there are no promises broken. In fact, as this honourable member knows, there have been and there continue to be discussions with the agricultural sector in this province, the agri-industry in this province. The Minister of Agriculture and myself have engaged in a number of processes. As the honourable member knows, that just simply passing a law doesn't make everything right, doesn't fix everything, that there's a combination of education, regulation and enforcement and engineering that goes into safety in any place, including agricultural workplaces, and that's work in progress.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, I wonder if this minister isn't tired of hearing his voice say the same thing year after year after year. Legislation is part of the solution. You know that. Given that you also promised, Madam Premier, to bring paid farm workers under workers' compensation, which is only possible if occupational health and safety is in place, can you please stop the rhetoric and give a straight answer? When will you deliver on this promise?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would indicate that I was tired of hearing the same voice over and over again, but he injected a new piece into it. This time he referred to the Tea Party, and I thought that was rather refreshing. Tea is always refreshing. It's a very serious subject, and the honourable member knows that doing one piece of the whole puzzle often is more ineffective than doing it comprehensively and together. Education, engineering, and legislation and enforcement are all pieces of the process. It has to be done right to be effective. This honourable member knows that.
Honourable member.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's interesting that both the Wild Rose and the PCs represent rural ridings. It strikes me as odd that neither stands up for paid farm workers, who, to state the obvious, live and work in rural areas. Again to the Premier, if she's courageous enough to stand. How do you explain your shocking disregard for human rights of your rural constituents, some of whom are children?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this Premier, above all, respects the rights of children and, in fact, has tasked this minister to protect those rights of children each and every day. Children are the most vulnerable of our citizens. Children, if they have the opportunity to grow up, to succeed, to maximize their potential, are the future of this province, and this Premier has tasked this minister to make sure that that happens.